All right, we're here from the FIU football facility. We're joined by head coach Willie Simmons here on early signing day. Class of 2026 is mostly rolled out, coach. Just overall thoughts, maybe give us a little bit on a couple players, and then we'll open it up to the room for some questions.
Yeah, no, today's an exciting day. You know, obviously, the future of FIU program starts today with signing day. Excited to currently have 23 young men, 22, I believe, that we're adding to the fold. Many of those guys high school, 20 of the 22 are high school guys, so just continuing to build a solid foundation, for this program. A couple of JUCO guys, and obviously that are older, that will come in and bring some quality experience. Meaning we're losing some really good players, but just excited about the overall balance of the class, offensively, defensively, even brought in a kicker. So again, just excited about some star power. Again, we don't really go by rankings. Obviously, right now I think ranked second in the conference, depending on who you ask, first or second. But again, we're just excited about these young men and what they bring as far as their character, their work ethic, their academic excellence, and again, continuing to chase excellence. And when we recruited these young men and brought them to campus, that's what we took away, that they are young men that want to be excellent, and they see themselves doing that here at FIU, and we're excited to have them.
I know when I was looking at the board, you have a lot of guys that are going to come in the spring. To just talk about what that does, obviously you're going to want some of these guys to make an impact and play right away, and they're going to get basically an extra 6 months of football that they wouldn't have been able to get at FIU maybe in the past.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're able to bring mid-year enrollees in. That this is something that started a few years back, and I think you've seen nationally a lot of those guys come in and play. It's not a prerequisite. Obviously, Simon Brew was not immediate. He came in the summer last year, and so there are some young men that will be summer enrollees that I think will have a profound impact on this program next season. So it's hard to project, who's going to come in and who's going to play. There's a lot that goes into playing early, but again, most of these guys have the makeup mentally and physically to be able to come in and compete. We'll just get to see that sooner for the I think 12 or so guys that are starting in the mid-year, and then the other ones remaining, we'll find that out when they get here next summer.
Obviously, your focus and being in this area is kind of being able to recruit your backyard. You got a bunch of guys coming in that are either from Dade or Broward, along with some Georgia guys, kind of a good mixture. You just talk about being able to kind of bring in guys, whether it's Ford, Penson, Noah, all these guys that are from the area that decided to stay home at the crib. And I know that was a big thing for you coming in. Like, we want to have the talent that's already here come to FIU.
Well, of course, one of the biggest emphasis, and this time last year when I was going through this process, what was our willingness to build a fence around what we call our tri-county area. So Dade County, Broward, and Palm Beach County. We want to keep our local talent here. And so our first commit, Malik Penson from right here in Miami, the dynamic wide receiver. You look up and Justin Compier, Jaden Ford, two running backs, both from Miami. Of course, if you know anything about Miami football, one position they put out are running backs. So you look at last year with Sterling Joseph, we saw what he did in the last game of the season, being from Edison. You look at Justin at Carroll City and Mook from Miami Central. That's three running backs from three pretty good programs. So again, just the ability to keep those guys here, and then with Malik and even Noah Sedan from right here from Broward County as a kicker. So just again, great talent here. Amazing young players, and the ability to keep them here and allow their families to come and fill Pitbull Stadium is something that we take great pride in. So the fact that the bulk of our classes from the Tri-County area, it really excites us.
Coach, I talked to one of the high school coaches here about Jaden Ford. You mentioned him, and using him all over the place, punt returner, kick returner. What have you seen about him that could be maybe a gadget guy for you?
He can do it all. He's a dynamic player. You look at him as a running back. He's got great balance. He's got great speed and agility. Big time player there. But then you look up, he's returning kicks, returning punts. I don't know why any high school team still kicks to him. Because every time he touched the ball, almost, he took it to the house. So just the ability to bring that dynamic element to us. Obviously, we lose Saquon Lopierre to graduation, but Mook's a guy that we feel can come in and potentially jump into one of those roles immediately as a return specialist.
What about the young man you got from Georgia, the quarterback? Can you talk about him, another quarterback from that area that you're getting?
Yeah, DJ Alexander was a young man that Coach Coleman identified really early. Was able to see him this past spring. Was an under-recruited guy for a really long time, but Nick just really liked the way that he threw the football. And once we started talking to him, just his temperament, he's a mature guy, phenomenal family. He came down this summer. The thing that I really love about DJ, and I think a really telling thing about him, DJ was committed to us already. We had our prospect camp sometime this summer. He came and threw at our prospect camp after he was already committed to us. That doesn't happen nationally. Guys that are committed to programs don't go to camps. They don't run 40s, they don't test, they don't compete, they just kind of go, and they may go to the camp because it's going on and just get an extra unofficial visit. DJ came and competed in camp like he was trying to earn a scholarship. He was already committed to us as a quarterback. And so just to see him throw the ball, to see him run around, every time he would complete a pass, he'd turn a backflip, a standing backflip. And after about the third time I looked at him and said, DJ, stop flipping. Don't flip again, because the last thing we needed for him to do was get hurt out there. But just a phenomenal athlete, really, really smart, cerebral guy. He has all the intangibles that you look for in a quarterback. But him working out at our camp after he was already committed to us for a month really answered any questions that I might have about DJ Alexander.
Do you have any guys that you're waiting on later today? And also, do you plan to sign more guys in February from high schools?
Well, there are a couple of guys that we're still waiting to get scholarships from junior college guys. High school wise, we've signed all of our committed guys. And so we're waiting on some logistical things with the JUCO guys that we're still waiting to receive scholarships from them. But high school wise, we may look to sign maybe one or two more guys. There's still some unsigned guys today that I think are waiting around to see if bigger schools will come. But if they don't, we've contacted them and they're intrigued. So we may be able to have a splash signing here in the next couple of days. And then our focus at that point will be the transfer portal, which opens up the start of January. So high school wise, we got 20 guys. We signed 22, I believe, last year. Only a handful of those guys, really played and didn't take a red shirt. So we didn't want to be a young team with 45 to 50 freshmen. So we stopped at 20, which is a pretty good number for us. And then the remaining guys will be either transfers or JUCO signees.
Can you talk about the tight ends? You brought in 3 of them so far. Obviously, that's a position you guys are going to lose a couple guys. And how important was it to identify, that position as a position of need in 2026? Yeah,
definitely critical for us to bring in some viable bodies at that position. You look up this year, and Dallas Payne breaks his hand. Justin Cayenne has a stress fracture, and then Braden Staten gets a concussion. And you look up, and it's like, well, crap, we got one tight end that's playing and one that's redshirted. So we moved Chad Staley, obviously, the tight end to get us through the year. So that's a position that obviously, yes, the new age tight end is catching passes, they're lining up in the slot, but those guys are still mixing it up in the run game. They're taking on defensive ends, they're banging on linebackers, they're holding up in match protection. It's a very, very physical position. So you got to have some bodies there, and the ability to bring in a James Reeser, a guy that came out of high school as a 4-star quarterback, went to Iowa, made the transition to tight end, went to junior college and has had a pretty good junior college season. But you're talking about a guy that's almost 6'5", 230 pounds, and runs a 10-600 meter. Can really, really run. And so James is a phenomenal athlete. Just a guy that we feel can come in right away and give us a different element. We had some tight ends this year that were more true tight end types. And James is that new age true flex tight end. The ones that you look in the NFL and see guys dominate. So we're really excited about his ability to come in and create matchups, mismatches. Aiden Pace is the same way. He's another 6'4" plus 220-pound guy, high school guy that his high school film basically is all wide receiver. And he's lined up in the slot and he's catching passes all over the field. So again, really excited about him. And then Davis Brown is more of your true Y. He's 6'4.5", he's 260. So he's that guy that can put his hand in the dirt, can own the C gap. So feel really good about the tight end position. I know Ponce is happy, being able to bring 3 really, really talented guys to that room.
Can you talk about McMillan? I think he's a 2-way. I think you guys may have announced him just as a safety. Do you guys plan on trying out both ways with him? And if so, just what were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, Jamie McMillan's a phenomenal athlete. He really could be listed as an athlete. We project him as a defensive back, but I think Travis Hunter has made everybody think that it's easy to play both ways in college football. It's not. It's still very, very difficult to be a full-time 2-way player. So if a guy has a unique skill set, dynamic ball in hand guy, just Kenneth Gilstrap was the fastest player in the country when we signed him, so we had a little package to give him a reverse. We weren't trying to teach him how to run curl routes and double move. No, run reverse. We'll give it to you once or twice a game. So if you got a guy that can do that, that's a lot easier. But again, Travis Hunter was one of one. And so the ability to play full-time receiver, full-time defensive back, that's really, really difficult at this level. And so we'll start Jaden out as a safety, more than likely, and we'll see where his skill set takes him.
Yeah, one thing that I was going to bring up before is just with guys like Ford, Penson, Sidan, these are all guys that have made it far in the state playoffs and are used to winning. Winning is an intangible that you wanted to bring in and establish as a mentality here. Is that something you look for just as much as talent? Were you part of a winning team, and that's important for you when you bring in recruits?
No question. I think that's one of the most important intangibles that you can look for is what type of program they're coming from. And sometimes you can't help it. If you're a kid that grows up in a small town and that's the school you play for is not very good, you're dominating, that's one thing. But when you look up, DJ Alexander had a nice playoff run. Mook, lost to Northwestern, who has been a perennial power. The winner of that game probably would be the front runner to win the state championship. Malik Penson lost to Chaminade, which same thing. He and Dominique Turnbull. So again, you look at those guys. I mean, Dre Arnold and Jay West, Madison County High School up in Panhandle, my neck of the woods, traditional powerhouse. And so again, you look at guys that come from winning programs. That means to me, one, they're used to winning and they like winning, right? But two, they know how to work. Because again, I think winning is a byproduct of how hard you work. And so the first time we put them through something difficult here, which they're going to go through it, I don't think it'll break them because they obviously had to do difficult things in high school to be a part of a championship team. So yeah, not saying that we won't recruit a young man from a program that's not a playoff team, a title contender, but they better be a special player on the field if that's the case. And most of the guys that we've recruited in this class all come from teams that made the playoffs and had pretty far runs.
Yeah, we'll give you a chance to stand on a soapbox here a little bit, but obviously everybody knows about Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, but can you talk a little bit about Madison County, your neck of the woods, that Tallahassee area, and there's a lot of special football players up there too.
No question about it. It's tough, hard-nosed football. I think that's what you get when you recruit young men from that area. Here, people talk about the distractions of being in Miami. There's so much to do. Right, and so a kid who chooses to play football, yes, he's making a commitment because he can easily be at the beach. He can easily be at a Heat game. In the Panhandle, you got football. Like that's it. Like your first gift is going to be a football, or basketball, or baseball in your career. And when you get home from school, that's all you look forward to is going out there in the dirt, in the yard, in the field, and playing football. And so, if you've ever been to Greenville, Florida, or Madison, Florida, you know why they won a ton of state championships there, because there's nothing there. It's like there's not much in Quincy, Florida. There's not much. Tallahassee's the big city to all of us, and down here Tallahassee will be the rap. And so again, just the love, the passion, the toughness that you have for football up that way is what makes those guys special. And I kind of related to Texas, my time in Texas. East Texas is the same way. People think about Dallas and Houston. But you want to get a hard-nosed, tough football player out of Texas, go to East Texas. You want to get a hard-nosed, tough, gritty football player out of Florida, go to the Panhandle. And you'll find those type of guys all over the football field.
Coach, what did you see out of the kicker you got from Chaminade in terms of his range, and what did you see that make you want to have him here?
Chaminade is one of the top teams in the nation, literally. Probably the top 15 team in the nation. So they score more than probably 99% of teams in America. So he kicks off a lot. He's had one return kick this season. Every other kick has been a touchback. And he's one of the top kickers in America. And so he's a guy that we identified as a guy that can come in right away and be our full-time kicker. You don't find a leg like that every day. I mean, it's hard to kick balls into the end zone every single time you kick off. Not just the distance, but the consistency, the accuracy. Noah Grant has a huge leg. But Noah probably kicked 4 or 5 balls out of bounds this season. It's not that he can kick it into the end zone. It's just he mishit a couple, and it went out of bounds, or it went to the hash. Noah's had one return kickoff all season long. Like that's almost unheard of. And so just his ability as a place kicker, as a kickoff specialist, we had a really, really good kickoff coverage team this year. I don't know how many times those guys will have to cover next year because you got a kicker who can kick the ball into the end zone every time.
Well, what's his range on field goals, you think?
He's hit 50+ yards in high school consistently. Again, he all the rankings. I don't get into rankings. It's just not something that I'm up. But I mean, he's rated one of the top kickers in the country at any level. You know, so again, you're talking about a 5-star kicker coming to Pitbull Stadium that can hit the ball probably 55+ yards.
Can you talk about Turnbull getting one of those legacy Panthers year out, and he's had a really good year for True North.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, we got to get his dad's picture here somewhere before he shows up, just so Nick doesn't kill us. But Dominiqu's a guy again, 6'1", 6'2" corner, lockdown corner from True North. Was a highly rated kid coming into the season. Had a ton of Power 4 offers, but the ability to stay home, to be a legacy kid and create his own legacy here. I think was something that was important to Dominic. So we're really excited to get him here. They live 10 minutes away from campus. So his family will be at every game, probably be at every practice. His dad's a high school coach, defensive coordinator at his high school. So again, just excited to get Dom here and allow him to see if he can build on that legacy. His dad's still the all-time interceptions leader. We can hang on to Josiah McGrew a little bit longer. That might be a jeopardy, but as of right now, Nick still has it. But no, Dominic's a really good football player that we're excited to have.
You had mentioned guys like Mook and Noah who could come in right away and play. Who else do you maybe, obviously a little tough to project, but who are some of those guys that you can see playing on day one?
Yeah, I think a lot of those defensive backs have the skill set to come in and play. Typically, skilled guys have a much greater chance to play early because the physical grind, the physical transition isn't as great as it is for an offensive defensive line, right? These are grown men playing college football on the O-line and D-line. So to come out of high school as a D lineman and be ready to take on a first-team all-conference U.S. offensive lineman, that's pretty daunting. But again, you look at a guy like Malik Pinson, a guy like Barrett Schultz, who's 6'5", those guys physically can come in and compete right away. Theirs will be more mental in their development than the physical part. But a lineman is oftentimes more physical than mental. And so we project a lot of those skilled guys, the defensive backs, the receivers, even the running backs to be able to come in and play. Sterling Joseph showed in the last game he could have played this season. He just didn't have to because we had KJ Owens, a 1,300-yard rusher, and Anthony Carey, a powerful transfer in front of him. So we were able to preserve his year. But he could have easily played for us, So definitely look forward to a lot of those skilled guys being able to come in and show what they can do. But hey, who knows? You may be surprised. Riley Wilson may say, I'm coming in to play, and I'm going to push Antonio Tripp for that guard spot, and he's physically ready to do it. I have no problem putting an 18-year-old, 19-year-old freshman out there on the offensive line.
When it comes to like DJ Alexander, Eric Johnson, I think Keontae Ingram, they're all Metro Atlanta area players. You already have a guy like JoJo Stone that's around. Is there anything you look for kind of in recruiting in that area? Is there a different brand of football there, or is that just where there's a lot of talent?
Well, obviously, you got Coach Gilstrap from that area. I've recruited that area my entire career. And I think the one thing that you have to be mindful of during the recruiting process is we have a great advantage being in the city of Miami. We have a great disadvantage being in the city of Miami, right? There's a lot of distractions, a lot of temptations. And so sometimes you want to get a guy that has a temperament to be able to come to the big city and play football. Well, Atlanta's the closest thing we have to that. So guys from that metro area won't be blown away the first time they come to Miami. The biggest challenge for them will be the language barrier, which was the same thing for me when I got here. So, but as far as the big city lights, as far as all the things that are going on, they won't be shocked by that. I'm a little worried about Zay West, Dre Arnold being shocked by the fast life because they're from the Panhandle. So again, the Metro Atlanta area is one of the richest regions in the country as far as high school talent, and being able to get guys that understand what it means to play ball in the big city helps. And then you look at Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson's from here. They moved up there to play, so he's basically coming home.
Can you talk about the linebackers? It seems like always a good job on those within the last couple of years with Josiah and whoever comes up. Just talk about those guys and what do you expect to see out of them?
Yeah, the two guys we have, we're really excited about. Demetrius Mincy from Dillard High School right there in Fort Lauderdale. Demetrius is a coach's son. His dad's a head coach. And so he has that football mind, that temperament. And then Dre Arnold, again, talk about him coming from Madison County. Just two guys that love football. They're the one thing about this area and the one thing about our team and our defense, speed is going to be our superpower. And you got two guys that can really, really run and that can really hit. You know, so definitely look forward to both those guys coming in and learning under Smitty and, you know, being able to provide depth at the linebacker spot, but also be really good special teams guys because that's what you look for those linebacker type bodies. But two guys that are see ball, get ball guys, and definitely look forward to seeing them get in here and mix it up a little bit.
Coach Coleman had a great line, recruiting a quarterback is marriage, not dating. For you as a head coach, how different is it bringing in a guy like DJ or even C5 last year as a head coach?
Yeah, no question about it. You know, you have to get to know them on an intimate level, to know how much they love ball, how intelligent are they, how much football do they know, can they come in and handle an entire playbook and being the leader and face of a program. It's a lot that goes into being a starting quarterback or quarterback in general. And so you definitely want to spend time with them, make sure you have the right temperament. But I don't know how many times I got off the bus for Panther Walk, and one of the first faces I see is DJ Alexander and his family. I mean, they were down here as often as they could be, just getting to know the place and, you know, being around us. Was able to do the home visit with them up there. So just an amazing family, amazing young man. And again, he checks all the boxes, but it takes time to learn that. You know, so this wasn't a quick fix. Whereas last year, you know, C5 was kind of more of a last minute. We got to find a quarterback. He's very talented. This year, we got to recruit DJ for over a year, and I think the difference in just his temperament and how he moves and operates, I think will show up when he steps foot on campus.
Speaking of that, it's the first time you've been able to recruit a guy for over a year as an FBS head coach. Was there anything that surprised you over the course of this process, or it's the same as family?
Well, the thing that surprised us is that we were able to hang on to those guys the entire time. You know, at the FCS level, you really don't do much summer recruiting. You know, you don't want to exhaust a lot of resources recruiting guys in the summer where you got 135 schools that are bigger than you that can just come in and kind of take them away from you. So when we had, I think, 18 commitments, 19 commitments coming out of the summer, it's like, we got 6 months, boys. Bucket seat, you got to hang on for 6 months. And the fact that we were able to hold on to a DJ Alexander, who had a phenomenal year at New Manchester. You know, the fact that we were able to hang on to a Jaden Ford, who was at Miami Central, and every time he touched the ball, it was almost a touchdown. You know, all those guys that we recruited and signed and got committed, we were able to keep them. You know, so that was the thing that I was most proud of. But that's a testament to our coaches, our recruiting department, KD, our director of recruiting. You know, and everybody just continuing every week to continue to recruit these guys. Because commitment is one thing; it's not official until they sign today. So we got commitment 6 months ago. You know, talk about marriage versus dating. We had to keep dating them for 6 months before we got married today. So just glad that those guys stuck with us. Obviously, having a great season helps, and but it was really great to be able to come out with one of the top classes at the G5 level.
A lot of these guys have a track background, whether it be in sprints or hurdles. It goes without saying you want guys that run fast and jump high, but is that something specifically you guys look for in this process?
Well, it's one of the easiest ways to truly evaluate a guy's speed. You look at everybody's profile, everybody's going to put 4.4 by their profile. You know, I was 6'2", 190 on my profile in high school. So I gave myself about 2.5 inches and about 30 pounds. So you can't really go by the profile. You have to go by empirical data. So a lot of guys now don't run 40s when they go to camps nowadays, just for whatever reason. So you don't really have anything to judge their speed off of. Track time's are a way to do that. So you pull up DISTAT and you say, okay, this guy ran a 10.8. He can run, right? And it verifies what you see on film. So again, oftentimes, you know, those track runners are good because again, you get to just see empirical data of what their true numbers look like.
I've seen a lot of guys even some guys who are graduating that are reposting a lot of these guys on their stories, all these recruits coming in, giving them love on social media. Can you just talk about how important it is to have your own players, not obviously in an infringing way, but being involved in the recruiting process and how important that is to kind of drive the message home? Because I think guys will listen to guys that are more their peers, maybe more than a coach sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, the most underrated part of the official visit is the hosting element. You know, these young guys come to campus and they see campus and they go on tours and they do all these things, but in the evening we turn them loose with player hosts. You know, so guys that are currently on the team get to take them out, and that's when you really get to know the most about the coaching staff, because they can ask them questions like, hey, Coach Simmons seems pretty cool, but what's he really like? You know, Coach Patton, my position coach, seems like an intense guy. Tell me how he to be coached by him. And they have those in-depth conversations. And obviously, they spend 48 hours together. You know, they exchange numbers, they hang out. So oftentimes, those guys keep in contact over. You know, they follow each other. And the fact that our players are retweeting and liking this signing class again continues to show how close this football team truly is. and that's a rewarding thing. So definitely looking forward to adding everybody to the fold. Because again, it was a great year, but we hired things, and this group's going to be a critical part of that.
Who do you think was the best recruiter on our roster this year?
I think D. Mitch did an amazing job. Dane Michelle did an amazing job. I mean, always willing to host. Anybody. That doesn't have to be an offensive line. He's a great host, does a phenomenal job, very personable. And the best on the staff is probably T.J. Demas. I mean, T.J. Demas is a pit bull on the recruiting trail. As a young guy. I mean, he stays with them 24/7. He's doing the campus tours. He's FaceTiming them every day. He's writing them. I mean, he really gets into the recruiting aspect. He's going to be a phenomenal recruiter one day. I'm trying to keep him on the football side as a coach, but I think his future is transitioning more to the off-the-field recruiting, scouting side, because he's an amazing relator to people. So those two guys, as a player, D. Mitch, and then as a coach slash staff with T.J. Demas, gets kudos. And you got to give a shout out to Katie. She put this whole thing together as a director of recruiting. 2 years in a row, top class in Conference USA. So can't say enough about her and the job that she does. Just putting all this together and putting up with all of us needy coaches. Trying to schedule official visits to accommodate times and all these type of things that you got to do to get people on and off campus.
Maybe one more for Coach. He's got to run. We all good. Sounds good. Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Guys, appreciate it.
Yep, we're all good. Yeah, TJ